And now you can see white has option to recapture this either with the bishop or with the pawn. Basically, black decides to recapture with the pawn, and you can see white gets this open b file for the rook. And now he basically centralizes the knight on e4, and just look at that knight. It's an absolute monster sitting on e4. I mean, this piece is not just placed there, it's dominating the board. Yes, white gets the bishop pair, which is nice in the long run, but what about those double c pawns? They are not pretty well at all. And now going to g4. He basically eyes on g7, so to defend this, g6, which is the standard reaction. But guys, this also creates permanent dark square weakness on f6 and h6, and white can take benefit of this by expanding from the queen side with the h4 and then h5. But before that, since this this bishop is attacked, so that's why bishop to c1, and he is preparing for bishop to a3. And black now attacks the center by pushing. And after that, David finally develops his light square bishop. And now black can continue this game by, capturing the pawn on c3 by knight takes c3. And then let's suppose if he tries to attack the knight, simply knight to e4. And if bishop takes e4, d takes e4, d takes e5, and you can see black will end up with this isolated pawn on e4. Here another possibility after the move, which is bishop to d3, is queen to a5, creating more pressure over the c3 pawn. So to defend this, if knight to e2, and obviously black can't capture on c3 due to bishop to d2. So that's why let's suppose if he decides to develop his another knight by knight to c6, which also maintains tension. Now comes bishop takes d4, d takes e4, and now white can capture this pawn later, but before that castling is better, getting out from this pin. And after, let's suppose, takes c takes d4, and you can see white will ends up with these powerful pawns in the center, whereas black has this isolated pawn which white can capture anytime. Clearly you can see this position will be winning for white. Okay, so in the actual game, after bishop to d3, after this move, here black made a mistake by c takes d4. And what black is trying to do is, let's suppose if white capture on d4 by c takes d4, because this also improves the structure, but now comes queen to a5. And obviously you cannot defend this check by bishop, so the only move is king to f1. And now comes queen to c3, attacking the pawn as well as the rook. If this move, and basically if this move has this idea, then why this is still a mistake? And guys, that's a mistake because, let me go back. So basically, instead of capturing the pawn, here white finds the best move, knight to e2. He just develops the knight, which has these powerful outposts, and leaves this double pawn structure. And now black must consider developing another knight so that he can eye on the center, but instead he makes another mistake by knight to c5. And that's a mistake because firstly he retreats his beautiful knight from the center just to attack the bishop, and secondly now white can just capture this free pawn on d4 by knight takes d4. And let's suppose if he goes for this check, simply c takes d3, and basically this is beneficial for white because he will finally get a readout of this double pawn structure. Okay, so in the actual game, after knight to c5, here David decides to capture on d4 by Okay, so after c takes d3, and now just look at the white double pawns. In an endgame, this would be a disaster, but guys, David knows that dynamic compensation is everything. He has the bishop but he has the bishop as well as the open files and complete central control. And now basically b6, maybe he wants to play bishop to a6 so that he can target the pawn. And now finally he starts h4, threatening h5 to crack open the black king side. And the best defense of this is quite weird, which is the move king to d7, trying to just escape, because if let's suppose white continues the attack, simply g takes f5, and if queen takes h5, which attacks the pawn, but now comes rook to h7 first. And in the few moves, black will develop the knight and then king to c7 and then b8. But in the actual game, after h4, here black made a mistake, which is the move h5. And that's also a mistake, because by pushing, black creates another weakness on g5, where white can anytime place this dark square bishop, which is supported by the pawn. Okay, so as you can see, since this pawn is attacked, so to defend this, here white continues with rook to c3. And you can see he's also preparing to double the rook. And now knight to f5, which is really a good move, closing the f file. And now you can see this queen is struck on the f6 square. So to tackle this, he basically now goes for knight to g3, asking for this knight exchange. And guys, basically here black captured on d4, and the problem with that move is now white is going to just double the rook. So instead the move knight to e7 might be the best option, so that he can defend this structure. But now rook at f goes to c1, and you can see what's coming next. So that's why, to stop this, here black goes for Okay, so now comes queen to d8, asking for queen exchange. And guys, this is the craziest part of this game, because in this position David plays the craziest move of the you can see the craziest move of the year, which is rook to c8. And in this position Boris Petrovich resigned. This is because, let's suppose if this game continues like rook takes c8, now comes this another god level sacrifice, rook takes c8, and obviously you cannot capture with the queen due to the mate. So let's suppose if you goes for bishop takes c8, now what about the move queen takes d8 mate? And here another possibility which comes after the move which is rook takes c8 is a king to d7, trying to just escape, but simply rook takes d8, rook takes d8, queen takes d8 check, and you can see this is also winning. And guys, let me tell you something. Let me go back to the move, which is okay. So basically let me go back to this move. And in this position there is a huge historical debate. Some record says David played this quiet move, which is queen to f4. And yes, that's the point, because instead of the rook sacrifice, he goes for this, simply rejecting the queen trade, maintaining the bind, and slowly he crushed black. And basically this position is also completely winning, but due to lack of evidence we cannot claim this. But guys, the world always remember the rook sacrifice by David Bronstein at that year. Like this video, and I will see you in the next one. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.